You know that feeling when you step on something and immediately look down to check what it was? That tiny moment of awareness about the traces we leave behind? Now imagine if that single footprint could expose an entire terrorist network and lead to one of the most sophisticated manhunts in modern intelligence history. What if I told you that a shoe print smaller than your palm became the key to unraveling a Hezbollah bomb manufacturing operation that had evaded capture for over 3 years? The reality is that in the shadow world of counterterrorism, sometimes the smallest details become the most dangerous evidence. Today I'm going to show you exactly how Israeli intelligence turned a fragment of forensic evidence into a precision weapon that changed the balance of power in the Middle East. Picture this scene unfolding in the narrow streets of Beirut's Dayeh district on a humid August evening in 2018. The explosion had torn through a 3-story building, leaving behind the familiar signature of a premature detonation during bomb construction. Emergency responders worked through the rubble, while Lebanese security forces cordoned off the area, treating it as another tragic accident in a neighborhood known for its volatile residents. What they didn't realize was that among the debris, embedded in a fragment of concrete that had been blasted 40 meters from the epicenter, was a partial shoe print that would become the starting point for Operation Mirror Light, one of Mossad's most intricate tracking operations of the decade. The print measured exactly 11.3 centimeters in length and showed the distinctive tread pattern of a Caterpillar work boot, size 42, manufactured specifically for Middle Eastern markets between 2016 and 2017. More critically, the impression revealed a unique wear pattern on the left heel and a small puncture mark near the toe that suggested the wearer had stepped on something sharp approximately 6 months prior to the explosion. This wasn't just any shoe print. Forensic analysis would later determine that it belonged to Mahmoud Hassan al-Nabatieh, a 34-year-old Lebanese national who had been constructing improvised explosive devices for Hezbollah's Special Operations Unit for nearly a decade. Al-Nabatieh had grown up in the southern village of Nabatieh during the Israeli occupation of the 1980s, watching his father's grocery store get repeatedly searched by IDF patrols. Unlike many of his generation who channeled their resentment into political activism or religious study, Mahmoud developed an almost obsessive fascination with the mechanics of destruction. His neighbors remembered him as the quiet teenager who could repair any electronic device, but showed little interest in anything that couldn't be taken apart and rebuilt. During the 2006 war with Israel, he had volunteered to help clear unexploded ordnance from his village, spending hours studying the construction and timing mechanisms of Israeli cluster munitions and artillery shells. This technical curiosity evolved into something far more dangerous when he enrolled at the Lebanese University's engineering program in 2009, where he excelled in chemistry and electronics, while maintaining the unremarkable profile of a mediocre student more interested in video games than revolutionary politics. Hezbollah's recruitment network identified him not through ideological screening, but through a professor who noticed his exceptional understanding of circuit design and chemical reactions. By 2012, he was constructing remote detonation devices in a basement workshop in Dahiyeh, developing increasingly sophisticated timing mechanisms that could be triggered by cell phone signals, pressure changes, or even specific radio frequencies. The Mossad had first become aware of al-Nabatieh's existence in 2015, when fragments from a roadside bomb that killed 2 Israeli soldiers near the Lebanese border showed construction techniques that didn't match any known Hezbollah bomb makers in their database. The device had used a unique combination of military-grade explosives and civilian electronics that suggested someone with formal engineering training was adapting commercial components for military applications. Intelligence analysts noted the bomber's preference for redundant timing systems and his habit of embedding anti-handling devices that would detonate if the bomb was moved or examined too closely. Over the next 3 years, Israeli intelligence documented 17 separate attacks that showed al-Nabatiyeh's distinctive technical signature, including the 2017 ambush that killed a Mossad operative near Metula and the bombing of an Israeli patrol that had been leaked to Hezbollah through a compromised Lebanese informant. Each device showed incremental improvements in design and reliability, suggesting that the bomb maker was not only prolific, but was systematically refining his techniques based on battlefield feedback. The Israeli military's explosive ordnance disposal teams had learned to approach any device showing al-Nabatiyeh's characteristics with extreme caution, knowing that he routinely built his bombs to kill not just the initial targets, but anyone attempting to defuse them. The breakthrough came when forensic specialists at the Mossad's Technical Analysis Division in Herzliya matched the shoe print from the Dahieh explosion to partial prints found at 2 other bomb-making sites that had been raided by Lebanese authorities in 2017. The pattern analysis revealed that the same individual had been present at all 3 locations, and more importantly, that the wear patterns on his shoes had evolved in ways that allowed analysts to establish a timeline of his movements over an 18-month period. The puncture mark near the toe had appeared sometime in early 2018, while the unusual heel wear suggested that the subject favored his right leg, possibly due to an old injury that affected his gait. Armed with this forensic profile, Mossad initiated Operation Mirror Light in September 2018, deploying a 3-agent team to Lebanon under deep cover identities that had been years in the making. Agent David Kellerman entered the country through Beirut Airport using Swiss diplomatic credentials, Dirk officially serving as a cultural attaché, researching Lebanese art for a museum exhibition in Geneva. His actual expertise lay in urban surveillance and human intelligence gathering. With fluency in Arabic and an extensive background in profiling terrorist networks across the Middle East, Agent Sarah Chen arrived separately via the Damascus airport, carrying Canadian press credentials as a freelance journalist, covering refugee resettlement programs in the Bekaa Valley. Her cover provided legitimate reasons to travel throughout Lebanon while documenting social conditions. But her real mission involved technical surveillance and the deployment of monitoring equipment in areas frequented by Hezbollah operatives. Chen had previously operated in Gaza and the West Bank, specializing in the infiltration of militant organizations through humanitarian relief networks. The third operative, Agent Michael Rosenberg, crossed into Lebanon through the northern border with Syria, using German business credentials as a telecommunications equipment salesman, seeking contracts with Lebanese cellular providers. His engineering background made him perfectly suited to understand al-Nabatiyeh's bomb-making techniques, while his cover identity provided access to the technical infrastructure that Hezbollah used to coordinate operations and communicate with Iranian handlers. The team's initial objective involved mapping al-Nabatiyeh's operational environment by identifying the workshops, safe houses, and supply networks that supported his bomb-making activities. Lebanese Hezbollah maintained strict operational security, with bomb makers typically working in isolation and communicating through encrypted channels that changed frequently to avoid interception. The challenge for Israeli intelligence lay in penetrating this security without alerting Hezbollah's counter-surveillance teams, who had become increasingly sophisticated in their ability to detect foreign intelligence operations. Rosenberg's breakthrough came during his third week in country, when his telecommunications cover led him to a meeting with a Lebanese cellular engineer who mentioned recurring signal anomalies in the Dahieh district that suggested someone was using high-powered radio frequency equipment for unauthorized purposes. The engineer had noticed these anomalies coincided with times when Hezbollah was known to be conducting training exercises, suggesting that the RF emissions were connected to weapons testing or bomb-making activities. This technical intelligence provided the first concrete lead on al-Nabatiyeh's current location. Chen's humanitarian cover allowed her to establish relationships with Lebanese social workers who provided services to Hezbollah families in Dahieh, including medical care for operatives who had been injured in training accidents or combat operations. Through careful questioning about recent patients with leg injuries, she identified 3 individuals who matched the physical profile suggested by the shoe print analysis, including one man who had sought treatment for chronic pain in his left ankle following a motorcycle accident in 2016. The medical records, obtained through a sympathetic clinic administrator, confirmed that the patient walked with a slight limp that favored his right side. Kellerman's surveillance work focused on establishing al-Nabatiyeh's daily routines and identifying the security measures that protected his workshop and living arrangements. Hezbollah bomb makers typically maintained multiple safe houses and work sites, moving between them on irregular schedules to avoid creating patterns that hostile intelligence services could exploit. However, Kellerman noticed that certain individuals in the Dahieh community showed elevated awareness during specific time periods, suggesting that high-value targets were present and requiring additional security precautions. The operation's critical moment came in early October 2018, when technical surveillance equipment deployed by Chen detected radio frequency emissions consistent with detonation testing emanating from a basement workshop beneath a grocery store in the Haret Hareik neighborhood. The emissions occurred on 3 consecutive Tuesday afternoons, suggesting that al-Nabatiyeh was conducting weekly weapons tests in preparation for a major operation. Cross-referencing this intelligence with Kellerman's surveillance notes revealed that the grocery store was owned by the family of the patient Chen had identified through medical records. Confirmation of al-Nabatiyeh's identity required physical surveillance that could definitively match his gait pattern to the shoe print analysis. Rosenberg established an observation post in an apartment building across from the grocery store using telephoto surveillance equipment to record individuals entering and exiting the building during the hours when RF emissions were detected. On October 18th, he captured video footage of a man whose walking pattern showed the distinctive right side preference indicated by the forensic analysis, and whose shoes appeared to match the caterpillar work boots identified in the original blast site. The intelligence picture crystallized when all three agents' reporting was combined with signals intelligence from Unit 8200, Israel's Electronic Surveillance Division, which had intercepted communications between al-Nabatieh and his Iranian handler discussing the completion of a large-scale bombing campaign targeting Israeli military installations along the northern border. The operation, codenamed Divine Victory by Hezbollah, involved the deployment of 12 sophisticated roadside bombs designed to trigger simultaneously when Israeli patrols entered predetermined kill zones. Israeli military leadership faced a complex decision matrix regarding how to neutralize al-Nabatieh without triggering a broader conflict with Hezbollah or exposing the intelligence methods that had made his capture possible. Direct military action inside Lebanon risked escalating tensions beyond Israel's control, while attempting to capture him alive would require a complex extraction operation that could compromise other ongoing intelligence operations in the region. The solution emerged from a careful analysis of al-Nabatieh's security vulnerabilities and his essential role in Hezbollah's bomb-making infrastructure. The elimination was designed to appear as an accidental death during bomb construction, maintaining plausible deniability while sending a clear message to Hezbollah about Israeli intelligence capabilities. On the evening of October 23, 2018, as al-Nabatieh worked alone in his basement workshop preparing timing devices for the Divine Victory operation, a precisely calibrated neural disruption device was remotely activated from Rosenberg's surveillance position across the street. The device, no larger than a cell phone battery, had been implanted in the workshop's electrical system 3 days earlier, during a brief power outage that Chen had arranged through her contacts at the Lebanese electrical company. The neural disruption technology represented one of Israeli military intelligence's most closely guarded capabilities, utilizing focused electromagnetic pulses to trigger sudden cardiac events that appeared completely natural to medical examiners. Al-Nabatieh collapsed at his workbench at exactly 8:47 p.m., his heart stopping as he reached for a timing circuit that would never be completed. The workshop's security cameras recorded nothing unusual, showing only a dedicated bomb maker who had apparently suffered a fatal heart attack during routine technical work. Lebanese authorities discovered his body the following morning when he failed to appear for a scheduled meeting with his Hezbollah handler. The initial medical examination revealed no obvious signs of violence or suspicious circumstances, with the coroner attributing the death to cardiac arrest brought on by the stress of working with dangerous materials in poorly ventilated conditions. Al-Nabatieh's workshop contained enough partially completed explosive devices to confirm his role in the Divine Victory operation. But without his expertise and institutional knowledge, Hezbollah was forced to abandon the campaign indefinitely. The forensic investigation that followed al-Nabatieh's death uncovered the full scope of his bomb-making activities, including detailed notes and technical diagrams that revealed Hezbollah's most advanced weapons development programs. Lebanese security forces, working with international investigators, documented evidence of Iranian technical assistance and training programs that had significantly enhanced Hezbollah's capabilities over the previous 5 years. This intelligence proved invaluable for Israeli military planners who were developing countermeasures against future bombing campaigns. International reaction to al-Nabatieh's death remained muted, with most intelligence services recognizing the elimination as a legitimate counterterrorism operation that had prevented significant loss of life without triggering broader regional instability. Iranian officials publicly mourned the loss of a martyr to the resistance, while privately acknowledging that their investment in Hezbollah's bomb-making infrastructure had suffered a critical setback that would require years to fully recover from. The investigation revealed uncomfortable truths about the invisible war being fought along Israel's northern border, where highly trained specialists on both sides worked to develop increasingly sophisticated methods of killing while maintaining the pretense of regional stability. Al-Nabatiyeh's workshop contained evidence of technical innovations that had surprised even Israeli military engineers, including remote detonation systems that could be triggered by satellite communications and explosive compounds that remained stable for months while retaining their destructive potential. Operation Mirror Light demonstrated how modern intelligence services combine traditional human intelligence gathering with cutting-edge forensic analysis and electronic warfare capabilities to achieve strategic objectives while maintaining plausible deniability. The operation's success lay not just in eliminating a high-value target, but in the comprehensive intelligence picture that emerged from months of careful surveillance and technical analysis. Israeli intelligence services had essentially mapped Hezbollah's entire bomb-making infrastructure through the pursuit of a single individual. The broader implications of al-Nabatiyeh's death resonated throughout the Middle Eastern intelligence community, where the operation became a case study in how small forensic clues could be developed into actionable intelligence through patient analytical work and sophisticated technical capabilities. The shoe print that started the investigation had ultimately exposed a network of workshops, safe houses, and supply routes that took Hezbollah years to rebuild and secure against future penetration. The human cost of this shadow war extended far beyond al-Nabatiyeh himself, encompassing the dozens of potential victims who would have been killed or maimed by his bombs, the Israeli soldiers who would have died in Hezbollah ambushes, and the civilian casualties that inevitably result when terrorist organizations operate in populated areas. His death prevented the Divine Victory operation, but did nothing to address the underlying political grievances that made such operations seem necessary to their planners. For Israeli intelligence analysts, the operation provided valuable insights into Hezbollah's technical capabilities and operational security measures, while demonstrating that even the most careful terrorists leave forensic evidence that can be exploited by sufficiently sophisticated intelligence services. The success of Operation Mirror Light validated years of investment in advanced surveillance technologies and forensic analysis capabilities that allowed a single shoe print to become the foundation for a complex international operation. The grocery store in Haret Hreik, where al-Nabatiyeh had his final workshop, remained closed for 6 months after his death, with Hezbollah security teams conducting extensive technical sweeps to determine whether Israeli intelligence had compromised other facilities in the area. They found no evidence of additional surveillance equipment, but the organization implemented new security protocols that significantly increased the complexity and cost of their bomb-making operations. As our investigation into Operation Mirror Light demonstrates, the modern battlefield extends far beyond conventional military engagements to encompass a complex world of technical intelligence, forensic analysis, and precise elimination operations that most people never realize are happening around them. Every footstep leaves a trace, every electronic signal can be intercepted, and every technical signature becomes part of a vast database that intelligence services use to track their targets across continents and through years of careful operational development. If you reach this point, it's because you understand that the real world operates according to rules that most people never see or acknowledge. The official explanations for events like al-Nabatieh's death barely scratch the surface of the sophisticated intelligence operations that shape our geopolitical reality every single day. You deserve to know how power actually functions when governments think nobody is watching. I created this channel specifically for people like you who refuse to accept simplified versions of complex international events. Here you'll find investigations into the intelligence operations that never make headlines, analysis of the technical capabilities that governments prefer to keep secret, and the real stories behind the official narratives that shape public understanding of international conflicts. Subscribe and hit the notification bell because every week I bring you exclusive investigations into the world of international intelligence that you won't find anywhere else. This isn't just entertainment. It's knowledge that will fundamentally change how you understand modern geopolitics and the invisible wars being fought in the shadows of official diplomacy. Join our community of people who demand the truth behind the headlines and aren't satisfied with surface-level explanations of world events. Your like helps the channel grow and continue bringing you this type of content that reveals the hidden mechanisms of international power. Until our next investigation into the secrets they don't want you to know.